All right. Good morning. So, we're beginning this little chunk of our distance learning doing some virtual designing of a deck for Mr. Downing's house. So far, you looked at drawing, what would we draw so far? Some triangles, made triangles into a house. You drew a bus stop shelter. You drew, what else? There was your bedroom. I think that was all. Triangles to a house, bus stop shelter, your room. Did some wall framing in your room. But it's good to kind of know what's behind the walls. If you were to peel off that paneling on your wall, most houses have sheetrock. What's behind that? See the skeleton of it. So I think of it like in Mr. Bartlett's class. If you would look at, say, a picture of a skeleton, you kind of know what's behind, say, your hand. What's in there? All the bones in there. It's good to know too what's behind the walls. Okay, what do the bones of the wall look like? So moving on, some outdoor stuff is to build some outdoor stuff, which would be a deck for Mr. Downing's house. So what we're going to give you at the bottom of the page, there should be a link called Mr. Downing's deck, and what it is, it's a drawing file. So it's got a picture of let's see, you draw somewhat three-dimensional for you guys. It's a picture of Mr. Downing's house. Here be like the back of Mr. Downing's house. Okay, he's got a nice big patio door on his house, and he's got an open backyard with nothing back there. He wanted something back there. Okay, his yard is pretty flat until the backyard, and it slants pretty steep. It says he's got a pretty steep, slanty backyard. So he wants us to build some kind of an outdoor living space. He says, build us a deck. We can do that. We can do that. Right? He's going to need us to attach to his house virtually some kind of a little system here in which he can have a little barbecue out here, have friends over, have family over. Okay, so a small little deck. It's going to need some posts to support this thing because it's not going to just hover by itself. These posts have to be supported by something in the ground. And we're going to learn as we go. There's a lot of little rules we got to follow called building codes. You could do a virtual tour of the town of Zimmerman, go to City Hall, say, City Hall, I want to build a deck on my house. What are some of the codes I got to follow? And there's hundreds of codes as far as, well, if your structure is so high off the ground, you need to have a railing put on it. These posts you use, they got to be a certain dimension based on the overall size of your deck. These posts must be supported by a concrete footing, and that concrete must be deep enough to go below the ground. So if here's the level of the grass is green, this grass isn't dead yet. So here's the level of the grass. It's got to go below the ground a certain distance so that when it does freeze, it won't heave with the frost. There's a lot of rules. Maybe you guys didn't know that there's a rule about frost depth. Well, in Minnesota, they recommend you dig below the surface of the ground at least 4 feet. Because when the winter hits, the frost will kind of dig deeper in the ground, and when frost happens, when the ground freezes, the water in the ground will kind of expand and push and heave. If this soil froze and expanded, it pushed the deck upward, making it all shift and crack. So there's something called frost footings we got to worry about. So we're going to build this whole thing for Mr. Downing virtually. Okay? So for today, what I would do if I was you guys is, we have room here, is just a little bit of some recon, all right? Some vocab we can learn about throughout this time here. Either look for it online, maybe know the words, maybe mom or dad know these words. Anyways, is what is a footing? according to building and all things structure, what is a footing? We have what makes up a beam. What makes up a beam? Or as far as what's a post? Okay, not too hard words so far. Footing, beam, post. Maybe you know what all three of them are. Maybe you know what one of them is. I don't know. How about this one here? What's a stringer? Stringer. Not like fishing, okay? Get about 7 or 8 muskies on a stringer. Nope. What's a stringer? What's a rim joist? Or what is regular? What's a joist? What are those things? Okay. Maybe you don't know what's a ledger board. A ledger board. Okay. How about what is decking? Decking. And then the final one we're going to worry about is what's this really weird word, hard to pronounce, hard to spell, called baluster. B-A-L-U-S-T-E-R. Baluster. So all these words are talked about pretty frequently over the whole duration of building Mr. Downing's deck. Okay? So these words here, don't pause the video, don't squint your eyes to read them. Instead, what I have is below this video, there's a little assignment called vocab check. And so it asks you to go online, ask a parent, ask someone, hey, what do these words mean? Okay, complete that check, and then submit that check in, or assignment in, and we'll begin this whole process tomorrow. But no, going forward, I'm going to give you a drawing file. It'll look a lot like this here. It won't have the deck on it yet. It'll have the house and the yard. We're going to map out the whole thing together, step by step, build the whole thing step by step. But for now, just kind of know we're going to be moving outdoors virtually, worrying about building a structure using some of these common words we're going to use here with the whole build process. Okay? Make sense? If not, rewind the video, play it again, or send me an email. All right? Hey, I'll see you tomorrow.